14 celebrity deaths ruled suicide. The evidence that points to murder. They told you it was suicide. They closed the cases. They thought you'd forget. The official reports are lying to you. The police files are incomplete. The evidence has been ignored. Tonight, we expose the shocking truth about 14 celebrity deaths labeled suicide, when every piece of evidence screams murder. Before we reveal even one case, hit subscribe and that notification bell right now. What you're about to see has gotten other channels demonetized. But I don't care about ad revenue. I care about justice. I care about the truth. April 8, 1994. Kurt Cobain is found dead. The official ruling, suicide. However, upon closer examination, the evidence surrounding his death suggests a narrative that starkly contrasts with this conclusion. First and foremost, the absence of fingerprints on the shotgun raises significant doubts about the suicide ruling. It defies logic that someone could handle such a weapon without leaving any traceable imprints. This glaring omission points to potential foul play. Moreover, the so-called suicide note shows clear and troubling handwriting discrepancies. The styles within vary enough to suggest that parts of it might not have been penned by Cobain at all. This inconsistency could imply tampering or forgery, further undermining the validity of the official story. In addition to these anomalies, private investigators have reportedly uncovered compelling evidence indicating Cobain's presence in a different location at crucial times surrounding his death. This information throws yet another wrench into the already shaky chain of events as presented by authorities. Putting these factors together paints a picture far removed from a straightforward case of suicide. May 18, 2017. Chris Cornell is found hanging in his Detroit hotel room. The medical examiner's report concludes suicide. Yet multiple evidentiary anomalies challenge this finding. The security footage from his hotel floor has never been released to the public, creating an immediate transparency issue. Furthermore, his wife Vicky stated he was in good spirits and actively planning future projects just hours before his death. The toxicology report reveals drug combinations that don't align with his known prescription history. When these elements are examined collectively, they form a pattern inconsistent with voluntary self-harm and point toward something more calculated. Critical evidence disappears or is never collected. Key witnesses change stories or become unavailable. Autopsy findings conflict with official police reports. Cases are closed within 48 hours despite glaring questions. Surveillance footage is mysteriously lost or destroyed. July 20, 2017. Exactly on what would have been Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday. Chester Bennington is found deceased by hanging. The official determination, suicide. However, the evidence tells a more complex story. His toxicology report came back completely clean. No drugs or alcohol at all in his system. Multiple friends and colleagues reported he was making future plans and seemed in good spirits. The symbolic timing of his death on his close friend's birthday seems too coincidental for a spontaneous act of self-harm. These factors, when examined together, suggest a narrative far more calculated than the official version acknowledges. August 5, 1962. Marilyn Monroe is found dead from an apparent drug overdose, officially ruled as probable suicide. Yet the forensic evidence presents troubling inconsistencies. The coroner's report noted no pill residue in her stomach, contradicting the overdose narrative. Her house showed signs of being cleaned before police documentation. Most notably, she was preparing to hold a press conference about her relationships with both President Kennedy and his brother Robert. The convergence of these factors, the clean stomach, the sanitized crime scene, and her imminent revelations about powerful figures, paints a picture that diverges significantly from the simple suicide story. June 16, 1959. George Reeves' television Superman is found dead from a gunshot wound officially deemed suicide. However, the physical evidence raises immediate red flags. No gunpowder residue was found on his hands, making it forensically improbable that he fired the weapon. Multiple neighbors reported hearing gunshots hours before the official time of death. The crime scene was compromised by numerous visitors before proper police investigation could begin. These evidentiary problems, combined with the strange timing of witness statements, create substantial doubt about the suicide conclusion. December 16, 1935. Thelma Todd is discovered dead in her car from carbon monoxide poisoning, ruled as accidental death. Yet the circumstances suggest otherwise. She sustained a broken nose and cracked ribs inconsistent with simple carbon monoxide exposure. Most tellingly, she was scheduled to testify against Lucky Luciano and his organized crime operations. The combination of unexplained physical injuries and her imminent testimony against powerful criminal figures indicates her death may have been anything but accidental. June 3, 2009. David Carradine is found hanging in a Bangkok hotel closet, officially attributed to autoerotic asphyxiation. The forensic evidence, however, tells a different story. His hands were tied behind his back with a complex knot he could not have possibly tied himself. His family maintains he had no history of such behavior. The discrepancy between the official ruling and the physical impossibility of self-tying such bonds suggests a much darker explanation. February 19, 2013. Elisa Lam is found dead in a water tank, officially ruled accidental drowning. The circumstances, however, defy logical explanation. The water tank lid was closed, a feat she could not have accomplished from inside. Her famous elevator footage shows behavior inconsistent with simple mental health issues. Most disturbingly, there was documented online activity from her accounts after her estimated time of death. These physical and digital impossibilities create a case that transcends simple accident and points toward unexamined variables. Okay, I know what you're thinking. They can't all be murders. But here's what I need you to do. Pause this video and comment which of these cases so far is the most suspicious. I'm tracking this data for our next investigation. September 5, 1932. Paul BERN is found shot dead, officially declared suicide. The physical evidence presents immediate problems. The gun was discovered too far from his body for a self-inflicted wound. No gunpowder residue was found on his hands. Most notably, he had recently signed a substantial life insurance policy naming his wife Jean Harlow as beneficiary. These financial and forensic anomalies create a picture that diverges significantly from the suicide narrative. November 22, 1997. Michael Hutchence is found hanging, officially determined to be suicide. However, the medical evidence complicates this conclusion. He had severe arm and hand injuries that would have made it physically impossible to tie the complex knot found around his neck. His family has consistently disputed the suicide ruling based on his mental state and future plans. The contradiction between his physical capabilities and the knot's complexity suggests outside involvement. We're approaching the final four. If you're still watching, you're a truth seeker. Hit that like button right now. Let's show the algorithm that real investigations matter. November 28, 1963. KUPCINET is found dead, officially ruled natural causes despite being just 22 years old. The timing and circumstances suggest otherwise. She was about to reveal information about the JFK assassination based on her father's connections. Her death occurred during the same weekend as Lee Harvey Oswald's murder. This convergence of timing and her imminent revelations suggests her death may have been anything but natural. October 21, 2003. Elliot Smith is found with a knife in his chest, officially ruled suicide. The forensic evidence presents immediate questions. The knife contained no fingerprints, unusual for a self-inflicted wound. The 2 stab wounds were not typical of self-infliction patterns. A private investigator hired by Smith's family reported being threatened during the investigation. These anomalies, combined with investigative interference, suggest a narrative far from the official suicide determination. November 8, 1965. Dorothy Kilgallen is found dead from a drug overdose, officially deemed suicide. The circumstances, however, suggest otherwise. She was the only reporter to secure a private interview with JFK's assassin, Jack Ruby. She was preparing to publish a story that would challenge the official assassination narrative. Critical evidence, including security footage, disappeared. Her imminent revelations about the century's most famous murder case, combined with missing evidence, point towards something far more calculated than suicide. February 2, 2014. Philip Seymour Hoffman is found with a needle in his arm. The official ruling: accidental drug overdose. But this case represents the perfect storm of evidentiary problems that point to something far more sinister. First, the overdose narrative collapses under basic math. Hoffman was found with nearly 70 bags of heroin in his apartment, yet his toxicology showed only trace amounts in his system. Not enough to kill a novice user, let alone someone with his alleged tolerance. The numbers simply don't add up. Then there's the missing security footage. Building cameras showed Hoffman returning home with 2 unidentified individuals. But the critical hours when they allegedly left, and when the drugs were supposedly administered, are mysteriously missing from the official record. The physical evidence raises even more red flags. The syringe found in his arm contained no fingerprints. None. And the needle was inserted at an angle that defies self-administration, according to multiple forensic experts. Most damning are the financial and digital trails. Hoffman was weeks away from exposing a massive Hollywood money laundering operation that used drug deals as cover. His phone records showed deleted calls to federal investigators. His computer's hard drive was wiped clean after police secured the scene. When you connect the dots, the impossible toxicology, the missing footage, the fingerprint-free syringe, the financial motives, the wiped digital evidence, a terrifying pattern emerges. This wasn't an accidental overdose. This was a professional hit designed to silence a whistleblower and send a message to anyone else considering talking. They gave him a Hollywood ending, the tragic addict who finally lost his battle. But the evidence tells a different story. This was a calculated elimination disguised as self-destruction. And every piece of missing evidence, every contradictory report, every silenced witness proves it. These cases represent the perfect storm of evidentiary problems. Forensic materials missing, silenced witnesses, multiple credible motives, and investigative incompetence at best, obstruction at worst. When every piece of official evidence contains anomalies, when every witness account conflicts, When the timeline proves physically impossible, we're no longer looking at suicide. We're looking at potentially something much more sinister. Comment the number of the case that convinced you the official story is wrong. They want you to accept the official stories. They want you to move on, but the evidence doesn't add up. The bottom line is, we deserve the truth. Subscribe now, because you don't want to miss our next upload.